It is game week. Nebraska has their biggest matchup of the season this Saturday on primetime national television against the talented 5-2 USC Trojans. So in today's video, I'm going to give you a comprehensive and complete preview of this ball game. What does USC bring to the table? What are their massive strengths that we need to watch out for? What are their glaring weaknesses that we need to exploit? What are the 5 keys in order for Nebraska to pull off this huge victory, and everything else you need to know? So really quick, this video is packed with information. If you're excited about Saturday, because I know I am, hit that like button. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for daily content talking Huskers that you can't get anywhere else? Join the best family in Husker YouTube. It's no brainer. Take 2 seconds. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. Let's just call a spade a spade. This is Nebraska's biggest game of the season, and it isn't even particularly close. This will not only define the rest of our year, but likely Matt Rhule's tenure in Lincoln. I mean, let's just start things off with USC, because like we've said before on the channel, Nebraska's lacking a signature win under Matt Rhule. You could argue the Colorado game was signature. You could argue the Cincinnati win was signature, but we're still waiting on a big victory at the end of the season to potentially propel you to a great bowl game, to propel you to a playoff spot potentially, to establish that Nebraska is legit. We're still waiting on that victory. And that could come versus USC because they're very talented. They're about as good as it gets in this conference. I mean, starting things off with the Trojans, of course, that are 5-2. They're coming off of a bye week. The week before that, of course, they lost to Notre Dame at Notre Dame. But still, there's a lot of things they've done well this season. They blew out Michigan at home in a ballgame that wasn't particularly close. They barely lost to Illinois. The refs were against them in that ballgame. They probably should have beat Illinois. They probably should be 6-1. And other than that, they've ran the table this year. They've dominated almost every single matchup they played. They're full of talent. They're well coached. And they're hungry, and they're waiting to still potentially make a playoff spot. You know, if they could beat Nebraska, again, they could win out. There's a very real possibility they could beat Oregon, and they could end up making the playoffs at 10-2. So again, very talented team. Let's start off with USC's strengths, then we'll get to the weaknesses, and of course, the 5 keys to victory. First strength of USC. No question about it, is their starting quarterback and their entire passing attack. I mean, you got to get things started with Nyziah because we are very familiar with him. Of course, we played him last year in LA and he beat us. He's very talented this year. He's threw for over 2,000 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, and he leads the country in QBR. I mean, this kid is special, not only with his accuracy, with his arm strength, but he can also get outside the pocket with his legs. Again, he has some nice speed to him as well. So Nyziah, he's a threat. In order for Nebraska to win this ball game, you got to shut him down. You got to contain him. You got to contain his legs. He has a great arm, and he also has some threats at wide receiver. He is probably the best receiver core in America, or at least it's very close to that. You got to start things off with Mekhi Lemon, who I would say right now Mekhi Lemon is the best receiver in the country, even potentially better than Jeremiah Smith. That's how well he's playing this season. Mekhi Lemon, he has about 800 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. He is probably the fastest receiver in America. He has lightning speed, lightning acceleration, great contested catchability, great body control. He breaks 1 million tackles that get involved in a multitude of aspects. So Mekhi Lemon, somebody we have to watch out for. He's by far the best receiver. Will play all season long. And then they also have Jacory Lane, who's a big body 6'4" receiver who has 400 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, 24 receptions on the season. They got multiple productive tight ends. They have multiple productive freshmen, sophomores in there as well. So, I mean, they have height, they definitely have speed, they have explosiveness, and they have a lot of production. So, again, this is by far the best passing attack will play all year. This is arguably the best quarterback will play all year, the best receiver will play all year. We got to be ready with our secondary and our pass rush because if they're not playing to their standard, to their A game, yeah, it's going to be a long, long matchup for the Big Red. Second strength of USC. This is something that's different from what we've seen in the past. They have one of the best offensive lines in the country. Right now, they are top 10 in least sacks given up per game, only 0.7. They're great in the running game. They're great in the pass pro. They allow Nyziah to have all day in the pocket. There's a bunch of them who are future NFLers, future all Big Ten type of guys, future All-Americans. So again, they're full of talent, not only with their starting lineup, but they're also incredibly deep. They have a bunch of 4-star, 5-star guys on their offensive line. And it should be noted, they dominated us last year in LA. We only had 1 sack versus USC's offensive line last season. Their offensive line is a lot better than last year. Our defensive line is a lot worse. So if our defensive line with Ty Robinson, Nash, Jamari Butler last year only got 1 sack, and we're in a downward trajectory and they're up, that says a lot. Really, really good offensive line, and we're going to have our work cut out for us this Saturday in that department. And then the last strength of USC is their pass rush. They have one of the best pass rushers in the Big Ten. They average around 3 sacks a game. It starts with Braylon Shelby, who has 3.5, and he's incredibly speedy, explosive. He's 6'5". This is somebody who you're going to hear in the NFL because, again, he's going to play on Sunday. He's incredibly explosive, has that high upside. They got Cameron Crawford in there, another nice edge rusher who has 3.5 sacks this season. They have somebody I really like at nose tackle in Devin Tompkins, who also have 3 sacks. And it should be mentioned around their pass rush, they have 6 forced fumbles on the year. They can force turnovers. They can also force interceptions. They have a safety by the name of Bishop Fitzgerald who has 5 interceptions in only 7 games. So they can force turnovers. They can get to the quarterback. They have a lot of speed, explosiveness, and they got some big nose tackles as well who can plug up the gaps. So really productive defensive line. Nebraska has to watch out for that. As for the weaknesses of USC, let's start things off with the rushing attack. Because that's not something that you could say was a weakness a couple months ago, but it definitely is right now because they're down to their 3rd string running back, Wayman Jordan, who is their number 1, is out for an extended period of time, along with Eli Sanders, who is their number 2. They're down to a former walk-on in King Miller. Now, here's the bad part. You hear walk-on and say, oh, he's not very good. It's the opposite. King Miller is really good. So they're down to the 3rd string running back, and yet he's still probably top 10 running back in this conference. He got some speed. He ran for 160 rushing yards versus Michigan. He played very well versus Notre Dame as well. He averages around 8 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns. So yeah, I mean, he's a stud, man. It's not a huge drop off between him and Wayman Jordan, but I will say this: after King Miller, the depth is very suspect, right? This is somebody who is basically has to be their bell cow because after him, they're going to their 4th stringers, they're going to their 5th stringers. They really don't have anybody. So again, he will hopefully, he's going to play well for them, but hopefully Nebraska can shut him down in order to get the victory. As for their second weakness, I just say in general, it's their run stopping. Now, this is a team that obviously can get to the quarterback, but you look at their last game versus Notre Dame, they got absolutely exploited on the ground versus the Irish. Jeremiah Love, who's one of the best running backs in America, had 230 rushing yards, averaged 9 yards a pop. On the day, Notre Dame had 300 rushing yards entirely. So if they couldn't stop Jeremiah Love, I see no way they're going to stop Emmett Johnson with their lack of run stopping, with their lack of, linebackers. I don't think the linebackers are incredibly talented, comparable to the rest of their team. Their defensive line, while I can get to the quarterback, they're not incredibly disciplined in the run game. So in order for Nebraska to win, you got to get Emmett Johnson going. And then the last weakness I'd say when it comes to USC, it's their discipline. It's definitely their penalties because right now they have 6.1 penalties a game, which is one of the worst in America. It's definitely one of the worst in the Big Ten. They hurt themselves. They constantly lose games like this. They lost to Washington on the road last year. They lost to Minnesota on the road last year. They just lost to Notre Dame. So USC, despite all their talent, they really struggle with these away games on national television when the lights are super bright, and they're still waiting to emerge. They still haven't made the playoffs with, of course, Lincoln Riley, who's everybody has an opinion about Lincoln Riley, and while he's a great developer, there's a lot of questions about him potentially being a great X and O's head coach. There's a lot of questions about him, rising to the occasion in these type of matchups. So that's the thing around USC. They're kind of similar to Nebraska where they can't win the big game, especially on the road. That should play in Nebraska's favor with a blackout environment. We know it's going to be loud, it's going to be rowdy, and the Huskers, they're going to be prepared. So they're going to hurt themselves, and Nebraska has to take advantage. All right, those are the strengths and weaknesses of USC. Of course, I will mull over this entire week thinking about my score prediction. Man, it's going to be unique. It's definitely going to be a shocker. I think I already have an idea of what I'm going to predict for this one. But again, we'll save that until Friday. But as usual, let's get into my 5 keys for victory. How does Nebraska win? Because it's going to be a tight ball game. There's a chance Nebraska wins. There's definitely a chance Nebraska loses and potentially gets blown out. How does Nebraska win? First key of the ball game. Just show a glimmer of consistency. I'm not expecting at this point for Nebraska to be consistent all 4 quarters. I think that's unrealistic. Okay, Nebraska has not been consistent all season long. There's going to be a quarter in there where we can't move the football. That's just inevitable. I'm not going to tell this team to do something that they haven't proven they can do. So I'm not asking Nebraska to be consistent all 4 quarters. I'm just asking for a glimmer, for 3 quarters, 2.5 quarters, be consistent, and especially in the first and the fourth quarter, play when it matters the most. Second, key the ball game. Dylan Raiola has to show up. He has to play at an elite level versus USC with their talent in the secondary, of course, with their high-powered offense. It might be a shootout, and Dylan's got to bring his A game. So no interceptions, no fumbles. You don't need to be a superhero. Play smart, calculated football. And Dylan, he didn't show up versus Michigan. You got to do it versus the Trojans. Third key, Dane Holgerson's game plan has to be masterful. I mean, Dane Holgerson has got to get in his bag versus USC because it may very likely be a shootout with our defensive ineptitude as of recently. We made Michigan State's offense look pretty good. We made Maryland's offense look pretty good. We definitely made Minnesota's offense look really good. We give up points. And we're definitely going to give up points versus USC. So our offense has to respond. Now, we're not going to fix our offensive line issues. We're not going to fix our wide receiver issues, but we can work around them with the RPO game, with the quick passes. You got to stick with what works. You got to execute on late downs. You got to execute in the red zone, and you got to execute in the fourth quarter. Dane Holgerson has to have a really, really good game plan versus USC. Fourth key of the ball game, stop the run. Stop the run. Make that offense one-dimensional. I'm not asking Nebraska to completely shut down the passing attack. I think this is a ball game where our secondary gets a little bit exposed, right? Because they have a great quarterback and they have great receivers. I'm not asking us to shut down the passing attack completely like we've done these past couple weeks. I'm just asking you to shut down the running game because they got third-string running back. He is talented. But again, we've done not a good job stopping the run, but we did do it pretty well versus Michigan despite giving up those 2 runs, that were big chunk plays for 75 and 50 yards. Besides that, we shut down Michigan for the most part. So if you can limit the big play from King Miller, you can just average even 4 yards to carry. I'll take that. Just slow down the rushing attack, make them one-dimensional. That gives Nebraska the best opportunity to win. And then fifth and final key, fight till the very end. Just give it your all. Give it your all. Play with nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose. Really. I know we're 6-2. Yes, we could still make the playoffs, so technically we have something to lose. But still, if you lose this game, nobody's going to bat an eye. Nobody's going to be surprised. Play with nothing to lose. Okay, put all of your chips on the table. Push them to the middle and say, you know what, I'm all in. Okay. Fight till the very end. Prepare at a high level all week long and live with the results. But you got to come prepared. And that starts with the coaching staff. That starts with the players. You should not have an ego. Don't go into the ball game expecting to blow them out. You know it's going to be a tight ball game. You got to execute from the first and fourth quarter all the way through. Be consistent. Offensive line has to show up. Defensive line has to show up. Live with the results. But fight till the very end. I don't want to see this team quit at any point. I don't want to see this team quit at the very end. Even if we're getting blown out, I don't want to see this team quit. I definitely don't want to see us quit in the second quarter. I don't want this game to be 14-0 and we're up and this team quits and lets USC get back to the ball game. I don't want us to get blown out and us to quit in the fourth quarter. I don't want it to be a tight ball game. Let's say 24-24 and we quit right at the very end when USC's driving on us. Do not quit. Play your best brand of football and live with the results. And we'll talk about it when it's over. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below about the USC ball game, what you're expecting, your early score predictions. Again, I'll mull over my score prediction. I have a guess at what I'm going to predict. Again, we'll think about it all week long. I'll watch some film, but let me know your thoughts down below. All right, guys, if you made this far, hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go be great. Go Met Rule, and I'll see you in the next one.